Today I thought I would talk you through how I use Google Suite's free and some paid for services to help enhance my business, help increase my productivity, and make sure I don't lose any important files. So I get asked quite a lot what systems I use and how I seem to keep on top of things, and I owe a lot of that to Google and the systems that I've used. So I don't use all of them. I've sort of kind of narrowed it down to the few that I like and that I'd recommend to you guys. Firstly, the first thing I ever used of Google was Gmail. I went to Google because I knew that I could personalize my email address. So, you know, when you're emailing someone and it says like, I don't know, alicethorpe@gmail.com or alicethorpe@hotmail.com. I wanted to change that little end bit. I didn't want it to say Gmail. I didn't want it to say Hotmail. I wanted it to be mine. And because I own a website, I have that little alicethorpe.co.uk part. So what I really like is that I can personalise Gmail. I know a lot of other email systems do this, but I found this the easiest one. By some miracle, I managed to set it up myself. So the biggest thing for me for Gmail was the personalisation and the business side of things. So since then, I've had like info@alicethorpe.co.uk. I've got it's only alice.co.uk, my old username, and I also have my shops one, solandfire.co.uk. So all of those are integrated into Google. I think when I only had one, it was like £3.30 a month, which I think's so affordable. I think that's so good. And with that, you get a bit of extra storage, and it allows you to have that personal email address, which if you want to look reputable and look like a professional, I think is so important. It's such a small amount of money to invest for such a positive impact when you are emailing clients and stuff. So I highly recommend getting a personalized email. I also love that on Gmail I can add labels to things. So I get emails for a variety of different things to my Gmail account. So I get design work offers, I get event invites, I get things from my manager, I get a lot of different things. So it kind of became a bit tricky keeping track of things, but I discovered something called labels, and it means I can sort of colour code everything and everything has its place. Again, I feel like other email systems have this too, but I think combined with the other software that they have, it just tops it for me. I feel like I should be a Google promo girl in this video. The next thing that I use is a Google Drive. So this links in with Gmail. I feel like everyone has a Google Drive document or folder or something in there at some point. And I know initially I never really used it for business, but what I've begun to do now is sort of share documents via my Google Drive. So on there I have a shared folder which I can invite people to be able to see. So me and my manager send files to each other a lot, and rather than kind of having them all over the place in various emails or on WhatsApp, I can just add files into that folder, and then whatever I add he can see, and vice versa. So I really like that you can kind of work collaboratively and invite people. I can also send big files via email to clients and stuff without having to get them to log into something else or having to involve another system. So basically, if I do have a big video file to send to a brand to get reviewed and approved, I can just attach that video file to an email, and it automatically converts it to a Google Drive document and sends it via my Drive account. Through that as well, I can control who sees it. So I'm not just sending my video file out there for anyone to download. By putting it on Google Drive, I can ensure that people can either only view it, they're not allowed to download it, they're only allowed to look at it. I can control who looks at it, so I can put their email addresses in, and it just gives me a lot more control, and I like that because I don't know where this video is going to end up if I don't have that little bit of extra kind of security. Another system which uses my beloved colour coding is a Google Calendar. Again, this was quite recent. I used to use just like an app that I found on my phone. I never really got along with the Apple Calendar that comes with iPhones because you can't really see the summary of it when you look at it on your phone, whereas Google has the little preview of what's going on per day. So I can just go on it on my phone and I can see what's on my Google Calendar, and it all syncs together. Obviously the colour coding exists in this, so it's all via one email account, but I have different colours for different tasks. It kind of allows me to keep track of everything, and then I also relay those colours into like my physical planning. So if I have anything written down on my like paper to-do list, I can copy those colours over. Alongside it being able to sync to my phone, you can also invite other people to events via Google Calendars. So For example, I have a meeting with my manager in London. He can create an event and invite me to it. So you can just add a little thing in your calendar, put the time, date and place, and then invite someone, put their email address in, and then it's sent to them and they can accept it on their calendar and it's all synced together. And I know there's a lot of businesses that I've heard of that use this as like a task management system, so you can kind of see where people are and when, and if you don't particularly need like a specific rota system or you don't have the finances to do that, Google Calendar can sort of double as that too, so you can see where people are and you can have people invited to various things when you need them. So that's sort of like the main three. They're the ones that I use every single day without fail. Maybe not on a Sunday if I give myself a day off, but they are the ones that I use the most. I also use something called Google Forms. Google Forms allows me to ask my clients or ask my viewers questions in bulk and save their answers. So again, I could use a different system. I could use SurveyMonkey or any other site like that, but I quite like that it's all synced together and everything is stored on my Google account. So for example, I use a logo questionnaire. So when someone emails me asking if they could get a logo or a quote for a logo, I'll send them a link to my Google form, which I have set up with various questions, and they can fill in their name, email address, what they're after. They can even attach images for inspiration and stuff to that form, and then when they press submit, both I get an email and they do, which means I can sort of look at their answers, I can download any images that they attached, and I can save that for later. That all gets stored in my Google Drive, so you can kind of see how they're all linking together. So yeah, Google Forms has helped me out a lot, because previously I used to email clients and say, what kind of inspiration have you got? And then they'd send me an email with loads of photos in, and then I'd sort of lose them photos further up in the email conversation. So by sending this link and doing a Google form straight away, it means that anytime I sort of need a refresh of what my client wanted, I can go into the Google form, find their name in the drop down menu and see what exactly it was that they wanted. I've also done like a couple of little surveys over there, so sort of like client feedback, customer feedback, seeing whether people liked my videos, whether they didn't, and it tallies it all up like it would in a regular survey. You can see who answered what, and you can sort of gather information that way, and it also allows you to export it too. So if you need to use that data elsewhere, you can either export each individual person's answer, or you can export the entire page of answers. And the final one that I use, it's a love-hate relationship, it's quite like Marmite, this one, it's Sheets. So this is Google's version of spreadsheet. Is it Microsoft Office? Microsoft Excel. So it's Google's version of Microsoft Excel. I think there are some features it's missing, but for everything I've needed it for, it's been fine. I have Microsoft Excel, but I prefer to use Google's version, so it's called Sheets, because I can access that from wherever. So I can access it on my iPad, I can access it on my phone, without having to like send files over to each other. And again, you can add other people to be able to view it at the same time as you, so you can add collaborators, and it just has the same basic principles of Microsoft Excel without having to pay for it. So on there I do sort of like my stock take stuff, I keep inventory of what stock I've got, I compare prices for buying products to resell, I keep track of my YouTube views per month, all that kind of stuff. It's all in there. Another couple of apps from Google that I feel like I should mention, I don't use them as often, but I have in the past, and they're really, really helpful. So the first one is Docs. So again, it's Microsoft Word, but Google's version, it's free. You can use it online, you can invite people to view it. Same sort of principle as before. I use Docs usually to sort of write out my newsletters before I import them into my email system. And I also previously have used Slides, which is Google's version of PowerPoint. So at uni, we made quite a few presentations using Slides. Again, it's got a little bit less functionality compared to Microsoft, but it does the job for what I needed it for at the time. And again, if you needed to make a PowerPoint and you don't want to fork out on some professional software, you can use Google without having to pay for it. So I think that could be it for my little selection of Google apps that I use. Hopefully this all made sense. If there's anything that I've mentioned that I've confused you about, or anything you'd like to ask me about further, feel free to DM me on Instagram or comment down below and I'll get back to you best I can. As always, I'm not a professional, I'm just doing what I'm doing and kind of sharing the journey with you guys. So thank you for joining me on that journey. I hope you've enjoyed this video, hope you've learned something, and I'll see you soon for the next one. Bye!